Test the claim.
I'm saying
but,
they believed it at the
but
time.
how can you then say delegitimizes Jesus when
Now you're asking me a new question. So Lisbeth S. Freed, writing in the Harvard Theological Review, analyzes the language that's used to describe the coming of Cyrus. And she says that it's basically exactly the same as the language that's used for King David. The language that's used for King David legitimizes his line, which is why the expectation emerged that the coming savior figure would be from the line of David. It's the language with which David is exalted that legitimizes his line. She says that the language used for Cyrus is so close to the language used for David that it actually signals the end of the Davidic line and the beginning of the line of Persian
that's an
kings.
opinion. Okay, that's an opinion of one person who wrote that. And if that opinion is what you're going to base that come on, bro, you got to be serious. That's an opinion of somebody who thinks that that's the case. Nobody else in history has come up with that at all.
She was quoting another scholar.
From when?
Like someone an older scholar that she was drawing some of her arguments from.
So one of the arguments that he made is a very strong argument that if that was the case, if Judaism is based on Zoroastrianism, then the
Second Temple Judaism.
Yes, then the failure of Judaism is the failure of Zoroastrianism. Very simple argument.
Okay, so how do we judge the success of a given
I was mentioning it more historically. I didn't really like
You
the
want to
failure of the
answer that,
entire
or you
religion.
want me
Yeah,
to
you kind of just
I was
made it
gonna-
kind of like putting a dagger in my heart when you
that escalated. Escalated.
No, it was a failure.
That's my job.
It was the failure of the Persian policy to reform Judaism,
Yeah.
not a failure of Persia.
Wait.
I'm
We're still here.
I'm gonna limit
Hold on,
what I
hold
said
on,
here.
hold on.
I'm not saying like we're all
Maybe we are
failures.
getting this mixed up a little bit. Hold on. Listen to what I'm saying. Your claim is Judaism is based on Zoroastrianism, right? Is that right?
I'm saying the Judaism as we understand it today is heavily influenced by Zoroastrianism.
All right. It's heavily influenced, not based on.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between those two statements. Yeah. Go on, carry on.
So I don't know what exactly he means by that because he hasn't clearly defined that. Because I want to know, and he hasn't still answered my original question: who is Ahura Mazda? Has he got anything to do with Yahweh? Okay, that he hasn't read because I
That's an
said that
interesting
would be the
topic as
basic question to answer for me, so that I can have an intelligent
I got
conversation about
sidetracked
this.
actually. Do you want me to carry on that a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I kind of mentioned Persian policy as it came. Can we move around this way a little bit because the camera's here?
Oh, okay.
I mentioned Persian policy as it pertains to the reformation of other religions that didn't quite tie in with Persian ideals.
Go on.
So when the Persian kings would encounter, or in this particular expansion, they encountered religions that could be reformed
Yeah.
to embody
The
the
Persian
values that
the
they
values
hold,
of Zoroastrianism.
they would reform.
They would reform.
So when they encountered more than one in a small region, like for example Judaism and the Temple of Marduk in Babylon,
Okay, you mentioned that. Yes.
they took the one I feel they felt had most potential for spreading their idea, because Judaism was naturally going to be sent back to Judea. Where was the Temple of Marduk going to go from the center of Babylon?
However, okay, if you go in that direction, because that's really tricky for
I
you.
was going to sort my lights out. Carry on.
Yeah, because that's a very tricky position to take. Because what you're saying essentially is that Judaism existed, and Zoroastrianism was gonna what do you say, like reform it?
Yeah.
To the Zoroastrianism.
Be more like Zoroastrianism.
So then, okay, so now you're making it a little bit more clearer.
Yeah.
So we can never state that Judaism is based, but you can always say it was influenced later by Zoroastrian beliefs. And you have to be a little bit more specific
Okay.
in what aspect. Was it not enough Zoroastrianism where Zoroastrianism
Yeah.
came because this is, remember, the base of this conversation is monotheism. Your claim is that Jews became monotheistic
Yeah.
because of Zoroastrianism.
Yeah.
So now, if I take that statement and analyze it, I would say, okay, first you got to show me that Jews were non-monotheistic prior to that,
Yeah.
and then you're going to have to show me how Zoroastrianism made them monotheistic.
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, you correct me if I'm wrong, but the first explicit statement in the words of Yahweh, in the first person, making the claim that there are no other gods. I am the first and the last, the Alpha and Omega, and all this idea, is in exactly the same chapter as the one where Syrus is introduced as his anointed.
Okay.
So this
now
is
you're
this is
stating
a
that.
smoking
Okay.
gun for me. I'm not sitting here. I've proven something.
No.
I'm just building a case. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Interesting.
Under the Pharisees,
plot gets thicker.
before the Pharisees. So when I say Pharisee, I mean the Zoroastrian Jews. Yeah. I'll be as bold as that. In the words of Professor Robert M. Price, I will say the Zoroastrian Jews, the Pharisees. Before them, was there any concept of heaven and hell in Judaism?
I guess Sadducees didn't believe in that, right?
No. Punishment and reward after death, similar sort of idea.
All right. So we're taking this from Zoroastrianism.
Yes.
Heaven and paradise and hell.
Yeah. Even
And,
paradise is an Iranian word.
Probably because the Iranians had the gardens, right?
Yeah. Paradise means an enclosed garden.
Enclosed garden.
Yes.
The Garden of Eden
Yeah.
is a Zoroastrian. Okay, well, you can make that argument. I'm making
Perhaps.
your argument for
Perhaps,
you.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm helping you
I'll
out.
let you go.
All right, cool.
You can freestyle.
I don't believe that, but
Okay.
but yes, linguistically and the way that you're bringing it out, yes, it could be argued that paradise is a Iranian idea because these are right. Okay,
Who's the first?
and that would be a very strong point for your side.
Who's the first Jewish prophet to give the angels names?
Who's the first Jewish prophet to give angels names?
Yeah. To tell us the names of the angels,
Like which angel are we talking about?
like Michael,
Ah,
Gabriel,
okay. Tell us.
Daniel,
Huh?
a Persian governor,
A Persian governor who was a Zoroastrian himself.
influenced by Zoroastrianism.
He was influenced by Zoroastrian,
Of course.
in regards to being paradise and hell, and in regards to being a monotheist. Now, let's say if I say,
He was part of that puzzle. So
All right.
he's the
All
first. So the reason why
I'm gonna put your foot to the fire right now because what is happening
the
is
fire is another important
that
Zoroastrian
Zoroastrian
symbol.
symbol of God is fire, is an ever-burning fire in the temple.
Not of God, it's of cosmic order and truth. Because
But
to
we don't want to get too deep
Yeah.
into that right now.
Yeah.
Please let me finish my point. Sorry. Please go back to tell me, were they non-monotheistic before this concept came down?
so I think
Daniel, especially Daniel. Because now you've just made a point, but I think, because what I like to do is I like to take your rope and put it right around your neck. So now you've made that point.
So when I don't know the work of Daniel well enough to know what he said about the existence of other gods. So when I mentioned this earlier, I talked specifically about Exodus 15, about Moses' failure to rule out the existence of other gods. Actually, what was tantamount to an admission that there are other gods. When he says, "O Lord, O Elohim, who is like you amongst the gods? Who
What
is
about
like you
the God
amongst
of this
the
earth?
Baalim?"
What about the God of this earth? It's Satan, right? According to the Bible.
Oh, you're coming to another Zoroastrian idea.
Okay, so now if there is another God called Satan, who's the God of this world, that means there are other gods, right?
Wait, what?
Well, it's the Bible that calls him a god.
What does Zoroastrianism call him?
So the evil, I don't call it a being as such, and we talked about this earlier. In Zarathustra's language, I believe what he's saying is that it's a state of mind, a mentality, and it is antithetical to the progressive, creative mentality. So, where some people make the mistake that they think Ahura Mazda is opposed to the devil figure in Zoroastrianism. They're not direct competitors. However, there is a propagator of evil in Zoroastrianism called Angramenyu or Ahriman in.
All right. Now I'll make it simpler because I think we're not getting to the clear point. What I'm trying to make is when you say that Moses failed to clearly identify the one God, is because he's like
to rule out the existence of other gods.
Insinuating that there are other gods. Now, if I come to the speaker's corner and I said there's no God but Jesus Christ, Allah is not a God. Does that mean that I think that there are other gods? Because I'm saying Jesus Christ is the only God because not the other gods are. It's a self-evidentary statement when you say something like that. You're saying that, wait a minute, your gods are non-gods.
He didn't say, but that's not what he said. He said, who is like you amongst the gods?
Okay, I'm talking about the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, we talked about that already.
No, but that is where he mentioned one God.
It says, thou shalt not take any other gods.
Besides him, right? Because he is the real God.
But even that,
what you don't
is
understand
ambiguous,
is,
no?
okay, now we are getting into linguistics. Because when you say something like that, you're not saying that there are other gods that are real gods. It's a negative statement saying there are no other gods besides me. So it is a statement that actually nullifies your point that, we are trying to say that.
I don't read it that way.
Okay, I know you don't, but that's okay. It does, and it's very easy to explain, but let's move forward from there. Because
why does the commandment not say there are no other gods?
It does. What does that mean?
No, it says, thou shalt not take any other god but me. Meaning, those other gods, don't take them, just take me.
Can you do me a favor? Just pull up the Ten Commandments.
Is it not it's a plausible reason?
It's kind of like fuzzy in my head right now. I want to make sure that I read it correctly to him. Just put in 10 Commandments. You have a phone?
Yeah, I do. I'll find it. I have.
So while they do that, so going back to this devil character, prior to the Pharisee understanding, Satan is considered almost like a team member it's like one of God's team. He's an advisor.
Yeah,
he's an advisor to God.
He's like
the prosecutor,
agent of God.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then it's under the Pharisees that he becomes the adversary.
Okay. All right. Can I get that?
Yeah. The resurrection of the body after death. It doesn't appear in Judaism prior to the Pharisees. And the Sadducees rejected that as well. They said,
can you do it? My eyes are not very sharp. Can you read that for me? Or you want to read it? Can you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I can make it a bit bigger. That's not better. Okay, 10 Commandments. And God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me.
You shall have no other gods before me.
Okay.
But maybe after me.
Before me.
I'm saying you could interpret it that way.
No, you can.
But it's not explicitly that there are no other gods.
No. Just take it into context. But okay, go ahead. What is the second commandment?
And you shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments.
What is the next one?
Next
you
one.
Shall not.
You shall not misuse the name of the Lord. Don't blaspheme. And Sabbath, honor your mother and father.
Sabbath. Okay. So there are first four commandments are about God, who He is, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you still didn't answer the question because I'm going to keep you going back to where you said that Daniel was influenced by Zoroastrianism, therefore he did this, that, and the other. Now my question is, show me where Daniel was not a monotheist or anybody.
It wasn't my claim that within the teachings of Daniel.
Now let's forget about Daniel. Okay, let's take him out. Show me anywhere that there was anything that was in the Judaism that wasn't monotheistic.
I already showed you the book.
Which book?
Ancient Israelite Religion by Niddich.
No,
if you read that, it will tell you that even the Jews, even the Israelites understood that their God existed within a landscape of regional gods. That's like
okay.
ancient Israelite religion.
Okay.
But,
So
perhaps you correctly said that this began to change under Abraham. That might be no, because the Israelites came
right.
proceeded from Abraham.
Abraham, right. So so now there was a perception by the Jews that their God, and that is one of the failings of Judaism, and that is why you're going to have to sync with that ship of Judaism, Zoroastrianism, because you're putting yourself on that ship. And I'm gonna show you what your fallacy is here, because here's the problem. What the problem with Jews was, God was giving them that you are my chosen people. What your job is to go and preach me to the world. They weren't doing that. They weren't doing that. They were just being Jews by themselves. They would not preach His word. Judaism was never preached outside of Jew. You have to be a Jew to be a Jew. You have to be born a Jew to be a Jew. And you can only be a Jew if you are a child of Abraham.
Yeah, I mean,
And you're part of the circumcision.
I don't necessarily think they were meant to preach it outside of Judaism, if you know what I mean.
What were they chosen for?
all the
If
other
God
Hebrews.
chose Israel, what were they
They
chosen
were
for?
meant to be just a light for the world. They're meant to
To what? A light?
they're
Did you
meant
say light?
to be a light to the
A light,
world.
L-I-G-H-T.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do you understand the implication of that? A light means that you are a lamp to the darkness that's around you. That means the
Yeah,
you
but
will
you
propagate
don't-
me.
Lighthouses tell you to go away.
Because
Lighthouses tell you to go the other direction.
No. Light means that they're a light to the people.
Because
That means that they're-
I'm understanding how the Jewish system works. So like there were certain conditions for you to be considered amongst the Jewish people, which is obviously one to be in the line and also have a claim on the Israelite land to some extent. And it's like you can't preach into that religion. That's why it's an ethno-religion.
The thing is that what you're missing is they are a complete failure according to God. Is they did not propagate God. That was their job.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
they
probably agree
failed
with that. But you wouldn't like
several
preach
times. Not only that,
that.
but they also regressed to worshipping other gods.
Yeah.
Do you
I agree.
understand?
I agree with that. Yeah.
And God punished them every time He sent them into bondage was because of their rebellion and worshipping other gods and doing all these weird things.
Yeah,
that
but
they got
when
into
you say preaching, that implies intent that you're trying to convert to your religion, but they wouldn't do that. That wasn't their command. Because that it wouldn't be impossible for them to do that.
So you say
if
be
they
a
are
light, you
people
mean like
of
an
God,
example.
Yeah, more like an example.
They're an example to the world.
Yeah.
Right, that's what they were supposed to be, but they weren't.
Yeah,
Because
I agree with that.
They were always falling out. So
Yeah.
that's why Jesus had to come and be that one person who would be a light to the world. Did Jesus say, "I'm the
Isn't
light
it
of the
Isaiah
world"?
42 that talks about a light to the nations?
Yeah,
But you don't think that that's a prophecy of Jesus, do you?
I don't know exactly what that passage is talking about, so
But
I can't speak to it.
I see your
The
point.
language you're using is in there.
Yeah, because Jesus said, "I'm the light of the world." So He is the light of the world. That means He's bringing the good news to the world and what the real message is. Now, that's a different point, so we're not going to go there. What I'm trying to do is sync you with Judaism. The way it happens is
Keep
that
trying.
they were a complete failure as far as what their task was.
Yeah.
the
Even the Persians couldn't
Rectify-
fix the sinking ship.
And they're trying to get on that ship, which was sinking, because you're saying that they were influenced.
No,
the
no,
reason why
hold
the
on.
Jews
Don't
failed
make a
was
mistake.
because they were influenced by Zoroastrian.
But don't make
I
a
could
mistake.
come to that conclusion.
The
very easily.
Persians didn't need the Jews. That's why they never mentioned the Jews in the Cyrus cylinder. It's the Jews that needed the Persians. Who do you think paid for the temple to be rebuilt? Who do you think? It came from the Persian treasury.
Why would